Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special show Reset India, where we talk about all that which needs to be done to try and bring India back on track after the pandemic, and also not only back on track but give a further push in this particular decade to the Indian economy and various sectors. There is a lot of work which needs to be done, and there is a lot which has already been set in motion in terms of revitalizing, reshaping, resetting several aspects. And that is why you're here in this particular show, Reset India. Now, for today, for this particular episode, our focus is on manufacturing for growth. Now, manufacturing sector is a very key, very important sector for Indian economy. Now, the focus is on manufacturing for growth. The idea is to make India the global manufacturing hub and a part of the global supply chain as well. What has been done so far on this aspect and what further needs to be done, we will try and understand all these finer points in the next 25 odd minutes. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you. Beginning with, we have Mr. Ajay Srivastava is Additional Director General of Foreign Trade in the Ministry of Commerce. We also have with us Ms. Bhairavi Jain, Executive Director, SCA Group of Companies. And we're also joined by Mr. Vinod Sharma, Chairman of CII's Electronics Committee. Welcome all of you to Rajya Sabha Television. And let me also, wish you a very happy New Year on behalf of all my colleagues at Rajya Sabha Television. Let me begin with you, Mr. Srivastava. And let's first start by understanding the scope of the issue here. Let's start by understanding where do we stand as far as manufacturing for exports is concerned.
Thank you. We'll say manufacturing for exports. Manufacturing sector accounts for 70% of our exports. We say the share in GDP of the manufacturing is 16 to 17%, but in exports, it's the most important sector for us, more than 70%. So government has taken a number of steps to increase this share. To understand it in a better way, in what direction we have to go, we have to understand how the trade in manufacturing happens, how the world of manufacturing moves. To understand this, we have to divide the world trade in manufacturing into two parts. Say a big basket, where 70% of the items which are traded, manufactured goods, they are kept. These are electronic items, telecom, precision equipments, specialty chemicals, and similar such things. These account for 70% of the world trade in manufacturing. So these are the most important items. So any country which has to do well in these has to focus on these items. So currently, India's share in these items is about 0.7%. India's global share. So we need to focus. These are the items which world is buying. Our share is 0.7%. We have to focus on increasing this.
Okay.
You will notice that in November, Honorable Prime Minister has announced a big scheme, Production-Linked Incentive Scheme. The basic idea was to focus on these items through the PLI, Production-Linked Incentive Schemes. And the idea was to focus on these items which world is buying in the most value and quantities. So you will see the coverage of that scheme. It covers the pharmaceuticals, telecom and networking products, specialty textile products, not the normal products, but the MMF-based products, then specialized food products, high-efficiency solar PV modules. Our presence was there in all these sectors, but we were not at the high end. So through the introduction of Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, Honorable Prime Minister has ensured that in the next few years, we see a lot of manufacturing activity. New manufacturing units will be coming. And before announcing of this incentive, you must have noticed that government was doing quietly a number of reforms for laying the groundwork. So you would have seen that change in the 4 labor codes. We have 4 labor codes, which will make it easier for the large manufacturing units to manage the labors. Second, we have seen the distinct improvement in India's ease of doing business rankings, which shows that our performance on many counts have increased. Third, we see the corporate taxes, the structure for the new manufacturing unit, it's now at par with the best and most competitive in the world. So say the groundwork has been laid, and I see the production link incentive as the top up over all these reforms. And I am very sure the type of queries which we are receiving from the big companies, anchor firms, MNC anchor firms, I'm sure that we'll soon see a lot of manufacturing happening in the country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, definitely. A lot of policy tweaks, policy changes has happened, as Mr. Srivastava was pointing out. Let's now take the perspective from Ms. Bhairavi Jani as well. Ms. Mijani, from your perspective, what are the key focus areas when we talk about making India a part of the global supply chain and also, the manufacturing hub, the global manufacturing hub?
Thanks, Vishal. I think we have to first understand that the very nature of global supply chains have transformed significantly in the last 2 decades. Today, global supply chains are also a lot about multiple location manufacturing, assembling, value addition, and most importantly, a large part of services go along with manufactured products in ensuring that products reach their final consumer and destination. I think India has a huge opportunity in this, considering that we have a vast base available, both in services already and in technology. We only have to take the necessary steps, and of course, the government has begun the process already to create conducive environment for large-scale manufacturing. One big part of large-scale manufacturing to operate seamlessly is to allow components to come in and leave in a particular cluster area, not just within the country, but from outside of the country as well. The customs of late have implemented a faceless system, but yet we have a lot more road to travel in digitizing our EXIM processes. Today, almost 30 signatures are required on an export shipment. I think as we move closer to complete digitization, these signatures must significantly be minimized for us to make this a very efficient and effective process, both from a time perspective as well as from money perspective. Thirdly, the most important part is to also understand that we are a huge consumption market as well. And therefore, the throughput of supply chain in terms of ships coming in and material going out will determine whether our exports, for example, have the requisite line haul available to take the material out. And so when we think of manufacturing, we must also think of auxiliary supply chain that surrounds it for it to be a completely successful endeavor.
Okay, indeed, it has to have an all-round aspect out there, as Ms. Jani is pointing out. I'd like to now bring in Mr. Vinod Sharma here, Chairman of CII's Electronics Committee. And Mr. Sharma, all of us know, and as Mr. Srivastava was also pointing out, electronics is one sector which needs to be focused upon when we are talking about increasing India's share in the global manufacturing aspect and making it global manufacturing hub there as well. It's 0.7%, as Mr. Srivastava was pointing out. We need to take it further up. So from your perspective, what needs to be done there, and the present policies or the present schemes which are there, for example the PLI scheme as well, how beneficial they have been so far?
Good afternoon, Vishal. Thank you very much for having me here. A very happy New Year to all of you and to all our viewers. I think it augurs very well that on the first day of the year, we are talking about reset in manufacturing for exports. As Mr. Srivastava very rightly pointed out, while we are at 0.7% of the world, of the demand, as an individual businessman and as chairman of the National Committee for Electronics at CII, I see absolutely no reason why we cannot aim at a fourfold growth, going close to 3% of the world GDP or our contribution out of manufactured exports within the next 4 to 5 years. And I think a lot is happening. But before I go to that, we need to understand when we manufacture for export anywhere in the world, it is a positive statement of our competitiveness, of our global competitiveness in that sector. The reason we haven't done so well in the past, and definitely even in the last 4 or 5 years, in spite of great efforts by the government of India in terms of policy, in terms of bringing in the infrastructure, is because I think a lot of pieces of that puzzle are only coming together. Bhairavi just mentioned supply chain. Specifically in our sector in electronics, you cannot get anything right. So China, our neighbor, has been over the last 20 years been able to get the most robust supply chain in the world together. And all the success we've seen that they've had in the last 2-3 decades in the world markets is a result of that. So I'm very happy on the one hand that a lot of our policy, our logistical frameworks, the digital infrastructure that we have built, the spaceless assessment, ease of doing business. So lots of these items on the checklist are now getting ticked. In the next 2-3 years, I think we will begin to see the results, whether it's energy, the cost of electricity, logistics, etc. What we don't have in place, unfortunately, yet, and for a change, I would say that we as businessmen have much more to do now than the government, which is in having very clear-cut, sector-wise export strategies for the next 5 years, not for just 1 or 2 years. Unfortunately, with the way we think through MEIS or RODTEP or incentive schemes is a very short-term way of thinking. And why I say that is, if you want to make a significant impact in the global markets, you cannot do that by just selling your surplus manufactured products into the export market. We need to strategize, we need to invest into supply chains that are designed for export. Coming to the electronic sector, I'm very happy that we made a great progress in the last 5 years. We've had a CAGR of over 23%. Having said that, but 5-6 years ago, and even today, we are a net importer. We are, in fact, even today, the second largest contributor to trade deficit in this country. And I'm very happy that you mentioned the PLI scheme. Now, the PLI is nothing but, first, it's an acknowledgement by the government and us in the industry that we have to mitigate some disabilities, some cost factors because of which we were not there. Just one last point. I know I've taken a little too long on this first introductory discussion. Let's make what should be our dollar to rupee exchange rate. I think we need to have a clear-cut strategy of where we want it to be, in what band. I know you cannot give a real figure for us to be able to plan and plan our exports for the next 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
So, I hope that the foreign trade policy, and, Mr. Srivastava, of course, a lot to do with that, will aim at also items like that so that all of us as manufacturers and as exporters have a clear roadmap together with the government.
Okay. Those are very important and very significant points raised by Mr. Sharma there. Let me go back to Mr. Ajay Srivastava. Mr. Srivastava, on two aspects. One, the foreign trade policy, as Mr. Sharma was pointing out, and the another point which both Ms. Bhairavi and Mr. Sharma referred to, that's the supply chain management. It's the core specific area, the focus area. If you talk about any sector, be it electronics or the other sectors as well, when you look at manufacturing for exports, this is where the real crux is.
Yes, Vishal. So I would like to thank both Bhairavi and Vinodji for raising this issue. I say, to understand GVC, we have to understand it's a ticking clock. GVC is not normal export-import operations. Here, a component moves from one country to another country for getting converted into a sub-assembly, and then maybe 200 more movements across the countries take place before a thing like iPhone is finally assembled in China. So suppose I'm part of moving one component and I delay at my customs or ports, say for 2 days, then the entire subsequent chain, it goes haywire and I will be thrown out of the GVC. Okay. So the logistics is the most important condition for participation in the GVC, and the countries which are doing very well in the GVC, say South Korea or Malaysia or Japan or China, the logistics, port from the factory to port movement and inside the port and customs formalities, they take no time. They say less than 1 day within the port or customs, or 8 hours in, say, Hong Kong. We have to match them. So a lot of work has been done, as Bhairavi was telling about digitization and customs reforms, and you will see many more reforms. But I say that's the crux. It's this part more than any other thing. For me, the logistics, the immediate if entry and exit into the port is the most important condition for participation in GVC. I'm happy this has been recognized by the government and the private sector, and we are working on this. And I hope to see good results very soon.
Okay. Ms. Bhairavi?
The second point.
Yes,
sorry.
please continue. Please continue, Mr. Srivastava.
Sure. So I say logistics is the most important thing. Many people, when we talk about GVC, they forget that it's a ticking clock. It's a ticking clock. If one of the 200 participants default, then everybody defaults. So that's why to become a part, we have to ensure very smooth entry and exit into customs and port systems. So that should be the key focus area in the next few years.
Okay.
The second question, Vinodji asked about the foreign trade policy. Foreign trade policy is still being formulated. I'm not privy to what is going inside that. So I would not be able to comment on that at this point of time. Thank you.
Okay. Wonderful. Obviously, if the policy is under formulation, we'll have to wait for it to come out and look at what exactly does it say. But going back to the supply chain management aspect, and Ms. Bhairavi Jani, would you agree to what Mr. Srivastava was earlier pointing out? And ultimately, if we have to look at pushing this growth as far as manufacturing for exports is concerned, this is the key area, as I was saying earlier. So what more needs to be done from your perspective to further boost or, rather make the supply chain management part more robust here?
Well, thank you. I think, as Mr. Srivastava and Vinod both have pointed out, this is the core. It's at the heart of what we are able to do. And I like what Vinod suggested, which is that we need to be very clear as companies and industry and the government that these are the products and these are the sectors and these are the geographies we want to aim for. Because supply chains are driven around that. They are around destination, what it takes at the other end, what it would take at this end, different formalities based on different markets. And I think it's important to get that priority and that strategy very, very right. Based on that, the supply chains can then be made to adopt and also be designed specifically to deliver to those specific markets at those relevant price points, because that's extremely important. I think the second thing that we can do is literally bring up the standards of our domestic logistics as well. It feeds into our EXIM logistics. And so just by moving roadblocks from EXIM logistics and not concentrating on domestic logistics also keeps us at a price disadvantage. India has one of the highest logistics costs as a fraction to GDP in the world. It's in double digits, anywhere between 14 to 16%. Too high. And if we just implement, for example, multimodal logistics, we have a huge cost. And I know Shri Gadkari ji keeps talking about using the coast. And, now the shipping ministry as well has a plan. The Prime Minister's office has backed the Sagarmala project. But on the ground, industry, state governments, and the union government need to work together to deliver on our multimodal capability, which is huge. If we do that, we will be able to reduce significant costs from our domestic logistics that feeds into our EXIM logistics. And so I think we have to look at this slightly more holistically and not in piecemeal. And I think the government has attempted to do that. And I agree with Vinod that there's a lot more now on the plate of the industry to take the lead in making the execution happen on the ground.
Okay, definitely there it is. As Ms. Bhairavi was pointing out, as far as supply chain management is concerned, there needs to be a holistic perspective there, and also, multinodal facilities which can be further utilized there as well. Mr. Sharma, moving away a bit from electronics part, if you look at other key sectors as well, where there is a potential, just like electronics, as you mentioned, that in the next 4 or 5 years, there is a potential for the electronic sector to grow from 0.7% of the global, share to at least 3%. So if you look at other sectors as well, similarly, what would you suggest from an industry point of view to the government to give that final push?
Vishal, I would say I would divide this whole industry, the whole manufacturing industry for export into three. So one is what we've spoken a lot about, which is cost-driven industry, where we see that now we are becoming a little more competitive, whether it's because of a labor productivity factors, because of the fact that we are more aligned today. The purpose, as I always say, the purpose, the people and the process across government, public sector and private sector is coming together. And so, and for geopolitical reasons, people are trying to find a China plus one location. And we are hoping that in some industrial sectors, we will be able to be that that new destination that the world is looking for. So, but that's in the cost industry. There's a whole second industry which we have not done well. And that is what I would call the value competitive industry, which is largely design led. So whether that's pharmaceuticals, again, we have played too much in the cost industry by being generics and stuff like that. And we haven't really moved up the value chain in terms of the design aspect. Same goes for our industry in electronics. While we are assembling, and today we are assembling iPhones and Samsung phones and many others in India, we are very cognizant of the fact that we need to rapidly move it to the earlier layer. And unfortunately, this for several reasons, and typically because R&D and design has not got, not just the incentives, but I would say the attention that industry needs in every single sector. Similarly, going to automotive, while we are, I'm very happy that very large companies like Maruti and Hyundai are today looking at India as a major export hub, especially for small cars. And we've earned their spurs there thanks to the fantastic, robust supply chain we have, or value chain as we have, for auto parts, which was developed thanks to Maruti 30 years ago. Same needs to be repeated in other sectors.
Okay.
But within the auto sector, if you look at now the electric vehicle, it's a new emerging area. And in EVs, while there are a couple of countries that are a little ahead of us, there is no reason why we cannot look at an emerging area like that. Not only for example, if you look at electric vehicles, especially for two-wheelers and three-wheelers, we are really the largest consumer or user of these vehicles. And hence we have a natural place to become the largest exporter of this kind of vehicles, whether it's to Africa, to Latin America, to emerging markets like that.
Okay.
So there are several of these areas which go back to capital goods, which we used to be very good at one stage. And now the machine tool industry was robust, went through a slump for several reasons. And maybe because people like us in electronics were not able to help them. But today, when you look at smart manufacturing, embedded systems, smart machines, smart CNC, I think capital goods could be another one like that.
Okay.
So wherever there is a little design element coming in, while we are designing for the world, we are coding for everybody else in the world, I think it is time we did it for ourselves and created some smart products in each of these areas. And which is why in my opening remarks, I said, I think the key is to have a very clear strategic view of where we want to be from 5 years from now, and not become somebody who's just exporting surplus. When we can't sell it in one market, we try to look for another one. I think that time has gone.
Okay, definitely. We need to go ahead and take a holistic view, as Ms. Bhairavi was earlier also pointing out. That brings me to Mr. Srivastava for the concluding comments before we wrap this up. Mr. Srivastava, from your point of view, from the government's point of view, what more should be done by the industry as well, because this is an equal partnership here between the government and the industry. On one side, it is policy management. The other side, it is the real work which needs to be done there to bring those numbers up. So what does the government expect as far as industry is concerned?
Thank you, Vishal. So I say let's focus on the Ismail curve to understand GVC functioning and to gain maths from the GVC operations. Ismail curve represents the product life cycle of a product manufactured in a GVC. On the left top is product conceptualization. After conceptualizing, we design the product, we make prototype, and at the bottom of the Ismail curve is manufacturing. Then we move on the right side of the Ismail curve. It comes marketing and sales. So manufacturing is the bottom. Bottom means the lowest margins of profits. So countries like USA, Japan, Germany, France, they're on the higher end of the design curve. So for example, Apple, this iPhone, see the iPhone retail cost in USA is $700 per piece. And it's assembled in China. How much China gets out of $700? Merely $12. It only assembles the things manufactured by other countries. So I say for the industry, if we have to get high on the GVC side, not only focus on manufacturing, that's the vital, but also focus on the other parts, left and right, higher sides of the parts of the Ismail curve of the GVC. That means focus more on R&D, design, conceptualization, prototype making, and of course, we are a big market, so sales and marketing. Why give these functions to other companies? Thank you very much.
Okay, there it is. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajay Srivastava, Ms. Bhairavi Jani, as well as Mr. Vinod Sharma for sharing your important views on this very, very key, significant, and this is really important, as our panelists were pointing out. Manufacturing for export is the next domain, and the push is to make India the hub for global manufacture as well as the part of a global supply chain. There are several challenges, but those are being tackled both from the government side in terms of policies and from the industry as well through new innovations, research and development, and these key focus areas will be worked upon further. So once again, I would like to wish a very happy new year for all our viewers on behalf of all my colleagues at Rajya Sabha Television. Keep watching RST.